From digital concept to stunning sculpture, watch an idea take physical form. This isn't just crafting, it's a detailed journey of creation. Join me as I walk you through each step of making Inner Helix, the latest addition to my Resin Dimensions series. In the computer, I start laying out the design from basic lines and curves into solid forms. I can play with different ideas, tweaking the design to see what works best. Once I've settled on a design, the next step is to create test prints. This reality check ensures the piece is printable and highlights any potential issues. It also gives a real sense of scale and proportion. Now that the design seems to work, I do more detailed tests, like checking to see how well the pieces fit together. On the first try, the fit was not great. To fix this, I added a small margin between the pieces, and now they fit together perfectly. Now it's time to 3D print all the pieces that will serve as masters for the molding process. I use resin printers, which are great for creating incredibly sharp prints. The resin mix includes plant-based and flexible resins. This combination is not only tough and workable, but also resists chipping and cracking. After printing, each piece undergoes a thorough cleaning and a bath of isopropyl alcohol, removing any residual uncured resin. Once cleaned, the pieces are placed under UV lights to cure. This crucial process hardens the resin, bringing the pieces to their full strength and durability. Now it's time for sanding. First, I use a knife to trim away excess material. Then, I sand each piece first with a coarse grit, then progressing to finer grit. Now comes the crucial step of surface preparation, which is all about achieving a shiny, glass-like finish for the molding process. I apply a filler primer not for its color, but because it helps smooth out any imperfections. After the primer sets, I begin wet sanding. This step not only removes any primer imperfections, but also prepares the surface for adhesion of the next layer. The pieces receive a clear coat finish, resulting in a super glossy appearance that will transfer to the molds. While the clear coat is curing, I start making the molds. I begin by taping down a printed guide of how I want to arrange the pieces onto a foam core board. This layout is then transferred onto the board using carbon transfer paper. Next, I cut the layout from the board, which will serve as the base for the mold. I've also 3D printed the walls for the mold, which I assemble using glue to form the container. Once the glue is dry, I bring in the master pieces. Each one gets a final polish to ensure they are dirt-free and fingerprint-free before being carefully glued into place within the master mold container. Now it's time for the silicone. I'm using tin cure silicone because it's better suited for casting these resin-printed parts. Platinum cure silicone is more common, but it can cause issues with this type of resin, making tin cure the more compatible option. Using a vacuum chamber to degas the silicone is crucial. This step removes air bubbles that could cause bumps and imperfections in the casting. Degassing ensures the silicone and final cast are smooth. Now I fill the molds with the silicone. If any air bubbles appear, I pop them with a knife. There's one more mold to make, which is the tray for assembling the pieces. I 3D printed the molds in sections. To align them perfectly during assembly, I used pieces of pencils as dowels. I apply glue to the holes, and then I insert the pencil pieces to hold everything securely in place. I use wood filler to seal the cracks and smooth the bottom of the tray. After sanding, I pour the silicone into the tray mold. A couple of days later, it's time to open the molds. Takes a little bit of coaxing, but the masters pop right out of the mold. The masters don't get thrown away. They will be reused later when I need to make a fresh set of molds. Now that the complete set of molds is ready, it's time to pour the first casting. This is the part of the process that gets repeated each time I make a new copy of the sculpture. Each of the color ingredients is carefully measured, including the opaque white. Now it's time to pour the resin into the molds. Then they go into the pressure chamber to cure for about 18 hours, which eliminates bubbles in the resin and helps to make the piece super smooth and clear. Now the resin castings can be removed from the molds. I really like how the blue turned out. And the white looks great too. Now it's time to assemble the pieces using the silicone tray, which starts with a little bit of resin. Then the pieces go in one by one. Once that's cured, it's now one solid structure, but there are still a couple more steps. The back has to be sanded and prepared for glazing. With the help of the rough sanding, The surface tension keeps the resin on the back and prevents it from dripping off. Once that is cured, I can place my signature on the back and the piece is finally done. Thank you for watching the creation of Inner Helix, part of my Resin Dimensions series. Each piece, including this one, is available as an open edition in my Etsy shop. If you're interested in this sculpture or looking to discover other unique pieces, check out the link in the description below.